Auzubillahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Thank you to the parents for taking precious time out for this event. It's a Zainabiya initiative, and probably you could say fruit of a discussion that was started by Brother Shams, and we had many discussions. You will hopefully realize that in the whole of month of Rajab, we had started this initiative just before Rajab, but we focused on Rajab for it to be a month of promoting children to come forward, give them some encouragement, and Alhamdulillah, we've had, I think, about 8 children who have participated in Zainabiya programs in that whole month, which is quite a good achievement. Salawat. Allahuma throughout this initiative, we have been liaising and getting recommendations from Brother Syed Mesum Ali Mahdi, who's here. I'll just give him salam. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
And thank you for joining us. We know, like we said earlier, everyone's busy, but somebody with your, you could say, line of work, especially in terms of khidmat to Ahl Bayt al-Islam, I'm sure you're incredibly busy. So thank you for giving us that time once again.
Jazakallah. It's an honor to be here. Jazakallah.
Thank you. For the children who are on here, so this is going to be a session more about focused around for you. So we'll be asking questions to Brother Mesam, and he will answer, and we'll also try and get a little bit engagement from the children as well, if that's okay. It's an introductory session. If the parents want to ask a question as well, they can. And even if it's not a question, even if you just want to comment and give advice to the other children and parents, please just say, and we can have that discussion, inshallah. So as I was saying, Rajab has passed. We've had a good attendance, and this was the promise session that we said that we're going to start doing some workshops. This is going to be more of an informal discussion, and then the ongoing sessions will be more like workshops. But hopefully, the idea is that for all the children who are there, you will have a better understanding of what's involved in reciting. It's not just reciting poetry. There's much more to it. So, inshallah, we will be getting to that point today. Please recite salawat.
Allahuma salli ala.
Okay, let's just to get a bit of engagement from the children, I will ask all the children just to say their name, if that's okay. Say salam and tell us your name. I'll start from Brother Shams.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Shams. Come on.
Hadi.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Hadi. Assalamu alaikum. Kamal.
Alaikum assalam to all of you, mashallah. We'll now move to Syed Qasim's house with Ali Sajjad. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Syed Qasim and
Sajjad.
Salam karo.
Good boy. Mashallah. Oh, I just remembered that my son's not here. Let me grab him 1 second. Just give me 1 second. In the meantime, we will ask Ali Zaki just to say your names, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Ali.
Alaikum. And is that Zaki with you?
Amir, mashallah.
Mashallah, mashallah. Very nice to see you both, mashallah. And we have Sayyid Adnan Jafri, inshallah, if you can introduce yourself and your children as well.
Yep. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Amir bhai. So this is Adnan Jafri, and with me, my son. What's your name? And please say assalamu alaikum to all.
Assalamu alaikum.
Your name?
Walaikum salam.
Your name a bit louder.
Muhammad.
Very good. He's
MashaAllah. MashaAllah. Muhammad was the first child to come forward in the Rajab challenge. So well done to you. You were the bravest of all the children to come forward, and well done to your father as well. MashaAllah. Have we missed anybody? Obviously, I know on my side we're still missing, but on the participant side we have Muhammad and Hassan Ali. Could you unmute and give salam?
Assalamu alaikum. I am Muhammad. This is Hassan. And this is Hussein.
MashaAllah.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Great to see you all. Walaikum assalam to all three of you. Okay, and to my right, inshallah, say assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
And your name? What's your name?
I'm Muhammad Abbas.
He's Muhammad Abbas. And I'm Ahmed. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you. And I think we just had Brother Salman join us as well. Assalamu alaikum. We are just doing introductions of the working group here. So if you have the children ready as well, please, if you could put the video on and just say hello and assalamu alaikum and your name.
Assalamualaikum, I'm Murtaza Hussain.
Walaikum assalam, Murtaza. Good to see you.
Yeah.
Okay, inshallah. I think did I miss anybody out from? I don't think I have. Now, without further ado, inshallah, we'll once again say salam to Brother Mesam Mahdi from Slough, who's our guest today, and inshallah, he'll introduce himself briefly and we'll go into the program.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. First of all, assalamu alaikum to all of you, all the parents, all the children that have joined today. Mashallah, it's really great seeing all these young faces who are, mashallah, very keen to recite and who have actually started reciting as well. So it's very, very good. And you know, all your parents, I salute all your parents for giving you the upbringing and for raising you in the love of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad, which is a really, really good step, mashallah. I'm grateful to Brother Amir Saklan for having me on here. It's an honor for someone like me who is unworthy of something like this, but it's his love and the love of all of you guys. So may Allah bless you guys further, inshallah. My name is Meesam Ali Mahdi, and Alhamdulillah, I've been reciting for the last, I think, 12 to 13 years, if I can remember correctly. And I started when I was about you guys' age, I believe I started reciting, and Alhamdulillah, it's just something that's been constant and something that's been very, very regular and has led me up to this stage. So now, Alhamdulillah, I'm currently 21. So I started reciting when I was about 7-8 years old. So it's just been a constant journey since then, Alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah.
And yeah,
that's great.
A brief introduction.
Thank you so much for the introduction. There's lots to ask you and learn from you as well. I think to really encourage everyone and to bring this more to life, if it's okay, if we can ask you to recite a kalam, inshallah, and we'll all recite a salawat before you start.
Allahuma salli ala
Muhammad, what
Kind of put me on the spot, but inshallah, whatever comes to mind, I'll just come to mind. Someone who I've been inspired by, someone who I listen to a lot, Marhum Ustad Pyare Khan Sahab, one of my biggest inspirations who I listen to. So 4 lines that he used to recite just come into my head. So on his behalf, for his further elevation of status, I'm going to recite it on his behalf, inshallah. Please recite another loud salawat. Allahuma
salli ala
जहाँ में सानी कुर्रा कोई किताब नहीं, जहाँ में सानी कुर्रा कोई किताब नहीं, अली भी एक है उनका कोई जवाब नहीं, लहद में फैल गया बू तुराब का जलवा, लहद में फैल गया बू तुराब का जलवा, खुदा का शुक्र है मिट्टी मेरी खराब नहीं, खुदा का शुक्र है मिट्टी मेरी खराब नहीं। बर मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद सल्लल्लाहु
Subhanallah, mashallah.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. It's I think that has really uplifted the event, and hopefully the children who maybe haven't had a chance to hear your recitation or didn't pay attention the last time, maybe this time they have, and they can appreciate that. Without doubt, you are a professional at what you do, and inshallah, hopefully you will continue to improve, as will we all, inshallah. Okay, we'll move on to some points now. I'm just going to share my screen. So hopefully you can see the poster on the screen. So this is the session we're in today. So there's a couple of points there. The main objective is around learning what's involved with being a reciter, and how to, what are the kind of tips or steps in becoming a successful reciter for Al-Bayt al-Islam. So I've just listed a few points there, which if it's okay, I can ask some questions around that. And parents and any of the children who are listening, if you want to ask a question at any point, just say so, inshallah, we can answer that. Okay, so you mentioned already that you started very young. I can remember being in the crowd, in the audience of Al-Qaim Center in Slough, when your father, who, mashallah, is stage secretary, or at least at that time was the stage secretary of the Al-Qaim Imam Bargah in Slough, he himself has a very beautiful voice and is extremely respected individual. He used to, obviously, as a stage secretary, used to introduce the children to come forward, and he used to call you all Nanne Zakir, the small, young Zakir, and it was always very inspirational. I'm definitely a lot older than you, and I used to be like, wow, this is amazing, right? At such a young age, you're reading, and obviously, to be able to do that, you have to practice. So the first point is around practicing. Like, if you don't mind, Meesam, if you can mention a few points around how much practice is actually needed. When you started as a child, when you were 7 or 8 years old, you started reading. How were you practicing? Was it just before the event that you do a couple of days of practicing with your parents, or how do you advise to practice for somebody beginning at a young age?
Really good point, really good question. Something from which I've picked up from personal experience, from seniors, from those who have helped guide me along the way, is practice is like, it's like, for example, you go to the gym. So you're not going to go, to the gym for the first ever time and spend 3, 4, 5 hours there, because the next day your muscles, your body is going to feel sore. So it's the same thing with your voice. if you, in the first few days, if you're just starting out, if you practice, you know, every day, 3, 4, even 1-2 hours consecutively, consistently every day, it's not going to do you any benefit. You have to build up to that level, if that makes sense. So once you're starting out, you know, spend 10-15 minutes a day, maybe once after, you know, once in the morning, practice maybe 10 minutes, once in the afternoon, practice 10 minutes, and once before going to bed, practice 10 minutes. So you get your 30 minutes a day like that. And obviously you're splitting it up into different portions, different sections, so you don't tire your voice out, you don't tire your vocals out. You know, practice kalams that you like listening to, that, you know, you're a fan of, whether it be, I don't know, Nadeem Sarwar, Meesam, or some of the, you know, a lot of these guys that you guys might listen to. So, you know, if you like a nohay or a manqabat they've read, start practicing that, take it slowly, take your time with it. Another point that you mentioned was, you know, if you should practice a day or two or even minutes before the actual time of reciting. And no, the answer is no. You should practice a lot in advance. So the more practice you have, the more time you spend on something, the more confident you will be with it, and that will then reflect when you're reciting, you know, on the
Inshallah.
minbar or on the podium, wherever you're reciting.
MashaAllah. I think you answered the question really well, just related to the practicing. So obviously now you're you're an adult and you've been doing this for many years. But when you were 7 or 8 years old, did you have a passion to practice yourself, or was it more like your father? Obviously he was an inspiration for you, but was he kind of arranging the practice for you, or you just basically used to listen to your favorite reciters?
It's a mix of both, actually. So Alhamdulillah, I had somewhat of a passion at the beginning that I want to do this, I want to recite. It's something that, you know, I could enjoy doing. So it's something that I initially started on myself. And obviously, as you mentioned, my father as well, I used to look at him reciting and be like, I want to be like this one day. So he was a big part of that inspiration as well. So I used to ask him, you know, how should I do this, or how would I go about practicing this? He would help me out, you know. And someone who hasn't or doesn't really get a lot of credit is my mother. So someone who's helped me a lot, helped me a significant amount during this journey is my mother. You know, when I was starting off, would stay up the whole night with me. So let's say, you know, to write down the lyrics of a specific nohay, to just help me practice it, make sure I'm doing it okay. So a lot of credit does go to my mother as well in this aspect as well. So yeah, so it's a mix of, you know, I had the passion, alhamdulillah, but I just, with the help of my parents, with the guidance of my parents, you know, I kind of had an idea then of what to do and how to go about it. If that makes sense.
MashaAllah, beautiful. Let's recite salawat. Okay, now let's do, this is again related to that, but it's a bit slightly different side of the practice, and that's around language. So obviously, you know, born in the UK, recent generations, they don't have the best grasp of Urdu or Arabic or other languages. So they obviously, you know, they are more comfortable with English, especially, you know, including me, right? Number one, you know, I've got weaknesses from an Urdu perspective, and still do. But from your perspective, you seem very natural with your Urdu. So when you started, again, rewinding back to 7 and 8 years old, when you talked about lyrics, were you writing them in English, or, you know, how did you work? Or were you basically from childhood you were learning Urdu, so it was a bit more natural to you?
No, so when I was 7, 8, 9 years old, at that time, even until my teenage years, I was mostly writing the lyrics in English, because I couldn't read Urdu. I couldn't, like, you know, understand it too well. So, and my mother would help me a lot with actually physically writing the lyrics. So it was all in English at that time, and that's how I started off. Alhamdulillah, since then, predominantly in my house, we're a Punjabi household, a Punjabi family, but for a lot of the time we talk Urdu in the house. And that's, I think how I mainly grasped and picked up the language and, you know, came up with it. And then obviously going to majalis and jashrins and listening to other recitals, it's all in Urdu. So that helps a lot as well with understanding and, you know, grasping the language.
MashaAllah, that helps, and hopefully gives a bit of a steer and kind of reminder for some of us that, you know, the home environment, if it's around a particular language, obviously that you'll pick it up quicker. But it's also encouragement that you started from not being able to read Urdu in your early days, but you're still reciting. So that's a good thing for the children who are listening. Even if you don't know how to read Urdu, if your father, your mother writes it down for you in English, and you're good at reading English, then you can actually recite a full, kalam. I believe it's known as Roman English, isn't it? Is that right? When you
that's a Roman English, right?
Yeah, Roman English. So brilliant. That's great. Does any parent have any question here? We have other questions, but if you want to ask a question or any child wants to ask a question, please go ahead.
I have one question now over here. So thank you for giving us time, Meesam. Did you formally learn the art of reciting these manqabat or noha, or is just from the family, your father and mother side? Did you formally learn this thing as well from any of your teachers?
In terms of, I haven't learned formally as such. I've had, alhamdulillah, I've been blessed with seniors who have helped me kind of along the way, guided me along the way. I don't know if you've heard of famous Noah Khan Sangat in Lahore in Pakistan called Katri Baba.
Yeah.
So I've spent some time with them. They all, alhamdulillah, know me quite well. So I spent some time with them. With Ustad Akbar Abbas, alhamdulillah, he's helped quite a bit in this journey as well. So people like that and a few others who I've come across who have who have helped me, or we help each other basically improve, and so it's been a constant journey where I've just been learning, and inshallah
years and years, throughout the life,
mashallah. Hopefully that gives you the answer there. And that's a really good question as well. Like sometimes we think that there's some kind of formalized route, but actually it is all around passion, how much time you give. And you do have mentors. They can be local or they could be international. And it looks like Brother Mesam had a good mix of that, mashallah. The community in Slough was very vibrant, and there's lots of local reciters as well. So a lot going for the Slough community, and inshallah we should look forward to that as well. I know children start getting bored, so I'm going to ask each child to do a Nara Hadri. I'll start with my son. Go, Nara Hadri.
Nara Hadri.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to Adnan Bhai, your house, please. Give us a Nara Hadri.
Yes, we do that. Just choose Nara Hadri.
Okay, Brother Shams.
Nara Hadri.
And Zaki and Ali.
Nara Hadri.
MashaAllah. Ali Sajad.
Ali Sajad.
Nara
Hadri.
And who else do we have? Sorry, Murtaza. Give us a Nara Hadri.
Nara Hadri.
Ya Ali. Okay, mashallah. So at least that's proof that everyone's still awake. That's good. Right, so we're moving on, inshallah. Thank you for those answers. Just for my own memory, I'm going to look at the poster again. So I think, again, to keep the interest of the children, I think children know YouTube pretty much when they're about 3 years old now. And it's their primary source, right, of entertainment, some knowledge. and
I mean, they're probably
yeah,
better than we do.
everything is on there, right? So this is the thing, right? So, and some of them have got a passion of being YouTubers. Sit down, please. So, and obviously there is some motivation to do that, and people do very crazy things just to become, quite viral and famous on YouTube. And from our Islamic perspective, the teachings of Ahl Bayt al-Islam, we're not supposed to be crazy. We're supposed to be representing, the name of Islam and our Aima, the Imams we claim to follow. We need to reflect them in a positive way. So YouTubing, I know that's not your main purpose, but by nature, you are a YouTuber as well, right? So what's involved and what is it like, keeping in mind the children are listening, from the YouTube and social media point of view?
It's quite a broad question, to be honest. In terms of the whole YouTube and the whole social media perspective, it's something that has now kind of become a necessity, if that makes sense, with what, with the actual day and age we're currently living in. It's basically the age of social media, and it's literally that's the source of a lot of knowledge, a lot of information, and a lot of videos and stuff like this. Most majalis, suggestions, manqabat, nohay that you listen to are on YouTube, essentially, or another social media platform. So to actually use it for reciters has kind of become a necessity, to get your zikr out there to the mu'mineen, essentially. It does take a lot of time as such, because obviously the whole professional process of going through recording, the manqabat or the noha or the salam or the naat, whatever it may be, the audio recording, then obviously then you have the video and the video editing and all of that, and then once it gets to that stage you can upload it and you upload it. So it is a long process which requires a lot of time and a lot of effort, but alhamdulillah, it's something that is getting the zikr out there in a way where a lot of people do listen to it. And if we can change someone's thinking or change someone's way of life just by our zikr, then what more can we want? That could become the reason for us, for our najat, essentially. So
okay, brilliant, mashallah, beautiful answer. I know it was a broad question. Actually, so the children are here. If I can ask the children, no, I'm not going to ask one by one, but if you can just reply, children. Do you want to have your own YouTube channel?
Yeah.
You already have. Say.
Already have. Okay, so mashallah, some children have already got one. It sounds like
all of them, they must have it.
private one.
Yeah.
That's it, mashallah. Okay, yeah. So, in Islam, just like brother has mentioned, right? There's things that we have to behave in a certain way, because it's all about respect and it's all about the Ahl Bayt and being a good person. So, what better way to use YouTube? If you are able to recite beautifully, you can use that platform, YouTube, that you want to be a YouTuber on, but use it to recite poetry. And it can be in English. It doesn't even have to be poetry, obviously. You could just read about Ahl Bayt. You could just talk about Ahl Bayt, Islam. But it's a good opportunity, and there's some skills that you learn as well. There's some actual professional skills you learn from using YouTube as well. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Keep practicing, inshallah, because you never know. It might be good for you in the future, inshallah. Okay, another question, going back into the skill side of things. So reciting in front of a large crowd, it's quite nervous even for adults at times. Yeah. So as a child, what was your tip? How did you manage your nerves?
For me, I still remember this took a bit of time for me to actually build up somewhat of a confidence in front of even you must remember when we were in the old building for Al-Qaim, there wasn't that many people, but I would still a lot of the times get nervous. I think it's known as stage fright essentially. And one way that which I myself tried to and my parents told me about is, don't physically try to look at the people who are there. Always have in your mind that Imam Zamana could be there, Imam Sajjad could be there, listening to you, and just have in your mind you're reciting it for them. You're reciting, what you've learned to them essentially, and that's all it is at the end of the day. You know that the Imam of your time is there. Imam Sajjad has come to listen to his father's, to his father's nasa'ib or to his fazail. So just with that niyat in mind, for me, that increased my confidence a lot at the time. Also, another tip that a lot of people do give is when you're starting off and when you're young, maybe, don't look directly at people, maybe look here and there, looking at the walls and stuff, but don't make direct eye contact, because a lot of children when they're younger, it can be a bit off-putting to make direct contact with, certain listeners or even just general listeners sitting there, because obviously they're young, they haven't got that experience yet. But obviously that builds up over time, and the more you recite, the more practice you have in front of reciting in a live audience, the more confidence you build up. I think a good way to start that off would be to practice at home. So when you're practicing at home, practicing in front of your parents or in front of your siblings, however many household members you have, start practicing in front of them to build up that confidence of reciting in front of actual people there. So I think that will help you guys a long way, inshallah.
MashaAllah. Comprehensive answer. Any questions from anyone?
Just wanted to add something in here, as we learned professionally as well when we've been presenting, especially learning business. So the thing is actually the psychology. Lots of, as Brother Mesam mentioned, it's very good to start in front of parents. So we should have some kind of settings at home, in which children can recite in front of the parents. First, that as he mentioned, that's very important. We should have regular one. So once they are not hesitant in front of the parents, it will be more easy. And another thing is, psychologically, the thing is actually what happens is, as we have to go on the stage itself, it is very hard. The mind is thinking that you are doing something very big. So what happens is, basically, lots of people, they get scared and they get shivering as well. The reason behind it is because your mind is thinking that you are doing something very big now, but the signals, basically what it does is gives you lots of energy, and you are not doing something very big to use that energy on the stage. So what happens is you start shivering. For that one, usually we say, if you, before reciting, start have at least to have a chewing gum or clutch your hands a few times or for a couple of minutes. That will waste your energy, and you're not going to feel shivering at the stage at the when you are reciting. So that was in my mind. I thought, let me just share it. So that's all it is. Thank you.
I have a question.
MashaAllah, go for it.
Thank you for sharing that. MashaAllah. Jazakallah.
MashaAllah, that was really good advice. Did somebody say they have a question? No? Okay.
Say you mess up when you're reading, how it's going to be embarrassing. So how do you fix it if you mess up? Because you have a lot of people watching you. Then if you mess up.
Good. That's a very good question, and it's something that I've gone through myself as well. So the best thing that I could say is, when if you, for example, you mess up, don't panic there that, oh, I've messed up, because once you start panicking, you basically lose consciousness of what you're doing or what to do next. So just stay calm and just carry on as if nothing's happened. That's the main thing I can say. But beforehand, if you feel like I haven't practiced this manqabat or this noha properly, then, you know, don't recite it. But, you know, if you think you've practiced it to a good extent, and whilst you're reading, you mess up, you know, it happened at the end of the day, we're all human, you know, stuff like this can happen. So, you know, don't, you know, panic when it happens. Just try to cover it up by keeping calm and just carrying on, or just repeat that line again and just carry on like that. You know,
MashaAllah.
I think that's, you know,
I think I've seen also some people, they just, if they completely get stuck, they just ask everybody to recite a salawat. That gives them a couple of seconds to recollect their mind.
That's really good.
Yeah, one thing more, Amir bhai, I just wanted to add for all the parents who joined and for the others as well who have not joined. One very important thing they have to keep in mind and let the children know that there is no way out in your life that you are not able to present in front of the people. Why? Because you have to do it one day.
MashaAllah.
It can be now, it can be when you are doing your graduation in the uni, it can be in your job when you are doing wherever. You have to be in front of the people. So it is very important to let children know that sooner you start, the more confident you will be later in your personal life or the professional life as well. So it is very important for all the parents to know that they have to bring their children. This is a very good opportunity, and very especially when it is about all, about Ahle Bayt especially. So we are blessed as well with that. So it's a very big opportunity for everybody to make their children come forward and join in, because they have to do it one day. So why not the sooner, please? Jazakallah. Thanks for me.
Jazakallah. A very, very good point, mashallah, you raised.
MashaAllah, very important point really there. So hopefully the children got that. You know, it's not that's not the only stage you'll ever have to face. Basically, there'll be many stages, and some of them are a lot harder than this. This is amongst your own community or your own family, couple of friends, but some can be very, very big crowds, and they might not all be agreeing with you as well, but you still have to present. So I completely agree. Very valid point there, mashallah.
Can master the confidence now at this age, you know, get used to it, then as brother said, later on in life is going to become a lot easier for you, especially because of the zikr, because of the recitations that you're doing, the effect that they have on you as a person, on your physical and your spiritual growth as well. So once you go out on later stages in, you know, professional life, in education and stuff, when you're presenting in front of different people, that itself will become a lot easier for you. And that's something which I've picked up myself, alhamdulillah, which I've noticed in my life as well. And inshallah, it will help you guys as well.
MashaAllah. Brilliant. Okay, that's a really good point. Thank you, Brother Shams and Brother Mesam. So the other thing is, this is maybe everyone might not agree with this anyway, but about having a voice. You know, some people think that you have to have a very beautiful voice, you know, to be reciting something. And obviously when you're starting, you don't really know if you have got really nice voices. The people who listen are going to tell you whether you have a beautiful voice or not. Some are obviously very exceptional, and you know, those children will know as well that they have a good voice. But is there such thing as really a bad voice? Like if you're a child, right, and you're reciting something, surely your voice will develop and you're going to improve. So exactly. That shouldn't put anybody off, right? Everybody has a different voice. So that's my view anyway. But if you want to give your experience.
I fully agree with you 100% in that aspect, especially when, I mean, first of all, you know, this is the zikr of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. It's not in need of your voice. Your voice is in need of it, if that makes sense.
Wow.
So it's not like, oh, I don't have a good voice, I can't recite. No, it's not about having a good voice or a bad voice or any type of voice at all. It's all to do with your love and your passion that you have. And someone's even put, as soon as I said the word love, someone put a love heart, so mashallah.
Wow. Mashallah.
But that's, you know, that's all I think it comes down to at the end of the day. And as Brother Ahmed already mentioned, you know, your voice develops over time, improves over time. So the more you recite, the more you practice, it will develop, it will improve over time. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it just comes down to your love and your passion that you have for reciting, for doing this zikr, as you know, as much as you can. And with that passion and that drive, you will see an improvement in your voice anyway. So,
MashaAllah, thank you so much. Anybody else want to comment on that? Otherwise, we can move on. It's fine. I think he's covered it well. MashaAllah. Yeah, just I guess you've covered one of the other questions already. Yeah, so one thing which we've noticed about, well, when I say we, me and Brother Shams have had lots of discussions, not all about you, but as in you've come in the discussion as well, when we're talking about how we can, you know, motivate the children. And one of the main things that we saw and felt was that you are obviously somebody who can write poetry as well right now, mashallah. And clearly you have an understanding of those points as well. So how did you, obviously you had the passion of reciting, did that naturally lead on to you then, you know, learning a bit more from an Islamic perspective, and then starting to write poetry? You know, how did that come into it? Because not all reciters write their own poetry. They normally rely on other poets. So how did that come into your experience?
I think it's just like the passion I had for reciting and the actual Urdu language as well, I think played a big part in that. I started listening to a lot of poets and a lot of poetry, a lot of different mahafil, a lot of different jashans. Even till today, I listen to a lot of poets within India. So poets such as Bilal Qasmi, Sharar Naqvi, Akhtar Shirsavi, all of these guys, mashallah, really phenomenal and really been inspired by them. So it's just something that, because poetry is something that actually touches the heart and it literally brings out everything inside your heart. It's a good way to blend your feelings into words, essentially. When words don't do justice, then, you know, you can do it in poetry, if that makes sense. Because there's like a little phrase in Urdu, ke kuze mein samandar ko band karna. So it's like literally to fit a river inside like a little water flask. That's literally what poetry does. So, for example, something an Alim or a Malana or something might say in 1 hour, a poet can fit that within a couple or 2 lines. So that's, I think, the magic of poetry, and that's what kind of got me more into it, to study it. And obviously, as you said before, not every reciter does, you know, can do poetry, as they rely on others. So my belief is that it's like a divine gift upon someone to write poetry, especially in the praise of the Ahlul Bayt, in the praise of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. I believe there's a hadith of Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam. He said that when a poet, where the Imam says that, you know, when a poet tries to write poetry, the words ask us for permission before they get used in that poem or in that kalam. So writing poetry is, you know, they say it's ata on someone, it's divinely gifted, divinely given to that person. It's especially when it's about, or in the praise of the Ahlul Bayt. You know, I'm not in that position, and most of us aren't in that position to praise the Ahlul Bayt in the way that it is done. So Allah, definitely it's something divine that's given, and it's a blessing. Alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah. So, there's quite a lot to take in there, mashallah. I think we could take it into the next level of discussion, but then it won't be for the children. So
yeah,
alhamdulillah, hopefully we can discuss that. Another point between us all. But yeah, this is another thing. I mean, maybe there's some children even on the call now who like poetry. It'd be interesting to know any of the children on the Zoom call today who like poetry generally. It could be any poetry, or do you write poetry?
A little bit.
Oh, really? MashaAllah. There you go. So I mean, if children are, have that passion in the first place, then obviously that skill is there already. And then if they're more inclined towards reciting about Ahlul Bayt al-Islam, then that gives them a good platform to write about Ahlul Bayt al-Islam as well.
Yeah.
That's great, mashallah. So let's see. I think there was one other question. Composition. So this is an interesting point, okay? And this might be a bit high level for this group, but there is a bit of a problem, could say, where some of the Zakireen, they recite poetry in a very musical way, right? Or they copy famous popular music tunes. But they're talking about Ahlul Bayt al-Islam, so it's good words, but they fitted it into that. So obviously this is a skill to make a composition. So composition meaning like some sort of tune or melody is a skill, but without going into too much details, what would you like to say about that, considering children are here as well?
The thing with composition is it's something that's very technical and requires you to have a bit of knowledge about different types of tunes, different scales that you need to know to actually make a composition which actually fits. See, what I tend to do and what a lot of other reciters tend to do is they tend to get the poetry first, because poetry essentially as well has its own rules that you need to follow. For example, the certain beher, in poetry books there's 19 beher. So a beher is like a meter, or so not like in English they say writing in code, essentially. So it's a bit like that, but there's different structures, different behers you have in the Urdu language, and seniors ustads have identified 19 specific behers you can write your poetry in. Then also you have different other rules like qafiya, radif, takhti, lehja, all that stuff then plays a part in the poetry aspect as well. So then when the kalam or whatever is written in that beher, in that meter, with all the different aspects it has, after that then we'll get a tune composed or try to compose it ourselves, which fits the words of the kalam, which fits the words of that specific poem and presents it, gives it life essentially. So that's how I myself go about doing it. But in terms of the actual composition itself, it's something which requires a lot of effort and a lot of passion and the desire to learn about this sort of stuff, to go about doing it. And in terms of what you mentioned at the beginning, that is essentially the easy way out of it, is to copy a popular song or a popular ghazal or something and just recite the qasida or the manqabat on that tune. To be honest, I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a believer in that as well, because the zikr of Ahlul Bayt should be kept as pure as it can. So you should be innovative and be creative with it, instead of using something that's already been used for something that the Ahlul Bayt may not even like, and then you're using that same tune, that same melody for the zikr. I don't think it's something that could potentially make them happy. So it's just stuff like that you need to be careful about when you're reciting. And I know a lot of youngsters who follow a lot of the Zakireen, they might not even know that this is a song tune, or this is a tune from a different ghazal or something. They might not even know that. So it's just good to be careful about these things.
MashaAllah, very good, very good.
Zabardast. Okay, that was again once a very comprehensive answer. MashaAllah, it's probably good for us as well as the children. Okay, I think we're getting closer to 1 hour, and I did say it'll be 1 hour maximum. So if we can ask the children if they have any questions, you can ask Brother Mesam, or just generally you can ask. Please go ahead, children.
Any question? And so nobody's saying something. Let me add something meanwhile. Everybody, Any questions still? No. Okay. Just wanted to wrap up, because we have, as you said, 1 hour. Kids, they're getting bored now as they have already the Sunday class as well. So they might not like to come next time. So simply wrap it up and what we have to do next time. So to just mention, as I mentioned to Brother Amir, there were few kids. I just tried to explain them the different ideas and the difference between Nazam and Hamad and, manqabat and nohay and marsiya. So I tried to explain them a little bit. So if we started with that one, and then you can guide us meanwhile, and the next time what we're gonna do, so let's just plan that. And Allahuma, Sullayala, Jazakallah.
Jazakallah,
Yeah, that's a good idea, a good way to start, I think, to differentiate between what manqabat, nohay, hamd, naat, and all, salam, marsiya, all these different types of poetry, forms of poetry. I think it is a really good start actually to differentiate between them first, and then inshallah we'll get into each one of them then inshallah.
Inshallah. In terms of planning, we will do it offline, obviously, not on this call. Like you said, 1 hour is more than enough for children, especially after Sunday school. I mean, the topic was very important. So the main idea for children, hopefully if it's still there, was so that you have a opening relationship, inshallah, with Brother Mesam as well. And he will be part of some of our sessions going forward. And maybe some others will join him as well. Thank you to all the parents for taking extra time out to come to this session as well. Please continue to bring your children forward for the Thursday programs and any other special events as well. Even if it means they can recite 1 or 2 lines or repeat the same line, it's completely fine. Let's keep this up. And like Brother Sham said, he's already also, whenever the program happens, physically in the center, he's actually giving them a level of training already, so which is brilliant. So combined with that local effort, with the outside help from yourself as well, Brother Mesam, and parents basically at home making that environment based on those points that you raised as well, inshallah, we'll be heading towards the right direction.
Amir bhai, one thing very important, just to add up what you said. I think so, I believe so, as Brother Mesam mentioned, these are always mums who have to work really hard. And if anybody's children are there, they want to recite, their mums should have to spend some very good time with them, as I'm telling them about surahs to recite as well, to learn, especially when they are in the bed. So basically our mums, I remember as well, I did mention our wife as well in the message. The thing is that it is all our mums which inspire us. And, especially when they are cooking or when they are near from childhood, especially in the beds when they are sleeping, or sit with them. So there is lots to do for mom, please. So if the mom can play their role. Jazakallah. Thanks, sir.
Absolutely, 100% agree. But obviously, collectively, parents should take a interest. I mean, the fact that at least 4 or 5 families have dedicated this 1 hour on this session is very positive. It looks like they already are committed, and maybe would have done it anyway. But I think this is more of a motivation for them, and inshallah, we'll help each other. We'll keep on having these informal discussions as well. But we will reach out to you with the next program very soon. But last message, and we'll end it here, hopefully. We're in the month of Shaban. Many events are coming. So maybe a small target, 15th Shaban is coming. That could be a good time, to start or, have another go at reciting, inshallah. I will leave it here because we've just gone over 1 hour. Thank you, everyone, especially Brother Mesam. And we'll leave it here with a loud salawat.
Allahumma Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz. Thank you, everyone.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.